just one more time. And this time when we get back into that top space, let's give that little lateral waggle to the tailbone. And then we'll come all the way back down to the mat and pull those thighs in one last time. This time as the thighs come in, think about as you squeeze and compress that space, what the sacrum is responding with. How does that pressure, anterior capsule pressure, manifest on that low neutral a lattice between the upper and lower half of the body. And then we'll release the feet to the mat and let the bottoms of the feet come together, knees fall out wide for just a moment. So this is not even really going to be a hold. We just want to fully express this external rotation. And then inhale and squeeze the thighs together. Like you're really actively working into that squeeze. And then exhale and release the thighs back open, external rotation. And then we'll inhale the knees together and that squeeze there, thighs compressing towards one another. And then just relax. And so as you release that internal pressure, note how the hips settle, what the sacrum's doing, what the lumbar's doing, and then let your knees fall to one side or the other, whatever side feels best for you. And we'll press ourselves up through seat into tabletop. Making our way into tabletop, curl your toes, lift your seat, and roll your way back into down dog. Get all the way back into that down dog shape and think about wagging the tailbone here kind of similarly to how we did in bridge, but this time we're really thinking about using that lateral sway to create depth into the shape. And then relax back down to hands and knees tabletop and sink back into child's pose. And as you land in child's pose and you reconnect with that anterior hip compression, note once again how the sacrum is responding. Think about how you can engage the core so that you can create more space here, more depth here. Or maybe it is just releasing the torso down into further anterior hip compression. And then we'll pull our way forward to hands and knees tabletop. Curl our toes, lift our seat, and re-find down dog. And then we'll walk our way forward to fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. As you drop into that fold, think about the head anchoring you down. About really releasing into that space. Yeah, really nice. Drift your awareness to your sacrum and let's roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. And we'll come into mountain. And as we get into mountain, let's engage with our ball. And we'll just take that ball underneath the left foot. So we're just going to do a little plantar fascial release here. Maybe start with a little forward to back movement. So from the kind of forefront of the calcaneus bone all the way into that toe mound. But don't really limit yourself. Move to wherever the ball is creating the most impact. Maybe you hang out there. The only real goal is to just open up some space in the middle of this arch and across this transverse arch of the foot. Let the structure of the foot kind of articulate around the curvature of the ball. And we'll give ourselves maybe about 15 more seconds here on this first side. And then when it feels appropriate, let's just set that ball to the side for a moment. Find your mountain. And tune in to the symmetry or asymmetry of the body here, noting that the only thing we've done in a unilateral way is the ball work on the left side. I think we're left side, but maybe just the first side. And so let's bring the hands to heart center. And whichever side you started the ball on, let's slide that back into lunge. So as you land, you feel that plantar fascial tissue and press back into that. So we're really starting to express that length. And then we'll just step back into mountain, sweep the arms up and overhead, and exhale through fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold, plant your hands and walk back into down dog. As you get back into down dog, feel that asymmetry between both sides of the body. How the arches feel, how the heels feel, how the posterior chains feel different. Just from the work we've done on the bottom of the feet. And then come down to hands and knees tabletop. Flip the tops of the feet and sink back into child's pose. See if you can find asymmetry here. Kind of seeking it out so that you have the opportunity to feel exactly where the impact is coming from just that expression of the plantar fascial tissue around the ball, structure of the foot around the ball. We'll give ourselves just 10 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate, we'll pull ourselves forward to tabletop, curl our toes, lift our seat, and find our way into down dog. And we'll walk to the front of the mat. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Drift your awareness to your sacrum. Roll yourself up vertebrae by vertebrae. Eventually finding our mountain. We'll engage the ball on the second side here. And again, no real forced guidance here. Just moving your foot around on the ball in the way that feels most intuitive or most impactful for you. And trying to really get into those areas that need or will benefit from the most amount of work, pauses, articulations around that ball. And we'll give ourselves about 15-ish seconds on this second side. And then no rush to make this true, but when you do feel balance left to right, let's set that ball to the side. We'll make our way back into mountain. Bring the hands together at heart center. and slide that second side back into lunge so that you feel the foot land and you feel that strength. Remember, we want to have that bend taken out of that back leg so you can really press back into that toe mound, activate that tissue, and then we'll step our way forward. Sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale through fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. And we'll press our way or walk our way back into down dog. Get all the way back into that down dog space. Really pressurize back into those hips. Think about how you can really deeply feel all of the available space. Think about now how we've had this bilateral balance, and then we'll come down to hands and knees tabletop and sink into child's pose. And in child's pose, once again, thinking about that bilateral balance, thinking about how we can use the space we've created one thing that I really like about the work on the bottom of the feet is it doesn't take a lot of time, right? We did about 1 minute and 15 seconds on each side. And we really do have a systemic impact on the body here. And when you feel appropriate, when it feels right for you, let's pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. We'll curl our toes, lift our seat, and find our way into down dog. And then let's walk forward to the front of the mat. We'll inhale into half lift. And exhale nice and slowly back into fold. And then once you get all the way into that fold space, let's slide our left foot straight back into lunge. And let the hands provide a little bit of stability here. Goal is going to be to lift the right toe mound off of the mat so that we're kind of expressing into that posterior chain, working through some plantar fascial activation here. So it's not about straightening the front leg. Man, these pants make it so hard. But we're still in lunge. We're just lifting the toe mound. And then release that toe mound back down and sweep yourself into crescent. Kind of feel how the hamstring had to work to lift the toes, and then get all of that verticality, that neutrality straight up. Drop the hands to the mat, and we'll slide the left foot back to our front position. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. And then slide your right foot straight back. Once again, hands kind of providing some balance so that even with this knee bend, we can just take the toe mound of the left foot and bring that up. This activates some anterior tibialis musculature. The arch is strong and active on the bottom of the foot. And then plant the left toe mound and sweep the arms into crescent. We maintain the integrity of the shape, the integrity of the torso, that drive into the full expression. Remember that back leg is strong. Float the hands down on the mat. We'll slide the right foot forward. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Drop the head. Drift the awareness to the sacrum. Let's roll ourselves up. When you get that verticality, splay the toes out wide. So really think about activating that foot structure, using all of that space we've granted ourselves, and slide the hands together at heart center. Interlace the fingers, and we're going to push the seat back towards chair. So we get that flat neutral spine. Push the arms out in front of you. That allows a little counterweight. Drive the seat back a little bit further. And then release the hands down to the mat. Keep that 90-degree bend in the knee. And we'll walk back to down dog. Come down to hands and knees tabletop. Flip the tops of the feet and slide your way back into child's pose. Just land there. And so this conversation between this old woman and this younger man is centering around the morality of this younger man. This older woman is continually questioning him about his ability to keep his word, to do the right thing, the integrity of his statements, his actions. And he keeps assuring her over and over and over again that she has nothing to worry about. He's as honorable, ethical as anyone she'll ever find. Give yourself just 10 more seconds here. When it feels appropriate, let's pull ourselves to hands and knees tabletop. And from tabletop, take your left hand and slide it back so that the fingertips are just behind the heel of the right hand. And then bring your right elbow down right where your right hand is so that we have kind of a 90-degree bend of the right elbow, a little internal rotation. You can turn that right palm down to give you a little bit more surface area to balance from. And then slide your left foot back and ground your left heel. And with the left arm, we're going to reach that straight up and then straight out towards the front of the room and allow it to just tilt or slide down towards our floor mat. Looking for a literal lateral arch. And then we'll sweep that left arm back up, push into the right hand, and see what it feels like for you to just press up in this little modified side angle-ish. And then we'll release the left hand down, bring the right hand back to its side of the mat, and pull your left knee forward. Sway the hips a little bit and feel that asymmetry. Think about how the spine responded to that lateral bend. And then we'll do the same thing to the second side. So slide the right hand back, replace the left hand with the left elbow. Left palm can come down. Really make sure you're structurally sound there. Then the right foot slides back and grounds, and the right hand reaches up and then extends forward. Then we just allow that to soften down. Get that deep low back bend. Lateral low back bend. Movement we don't get into very often. And then see what it feels like to press into the left hand as you reach up and press up. And then release your right hand down. Left hand to its side of the mat. Right knee joins and now sway the hips and feel the capacity of the hips to move laterally here. Really find what you've freed up. And then tailbone comes back to neutral. Let's curl our toes, lift our seat, and roll our way back into down dog. Now that's a pretty atypical movement. As you get back into this down dog, think about finding the way to expand into the length you've created. And then let's come up onto our tiptoes, and we'll tiptoe our way forward to a fold. Keep the heels lifted and drop all the way into that fold space. Keep the heels lifted and inhale to half lift. And then keep the heels lifted and drop all the way back into your fold. See if it's possible for you to keep the heels lifted as you roll yourself up vertebrae by vertebrae. Trying to get that big full flexion articulation on the way up. And then once you get into this top space, drop the heels and feel how your body just settles down into that space. How the anchoring allows you to land there. And we'll inhale the hands together, heart center. Left foot slides straight back into lunge. We'll sweep the arms to fully express crescent. And then ground the left heel and just roll transition to warrior two. Make sure you're aware of that lateral edge on the right side. Think about crafting all of that space between the legs. And then spin your left heel up and we'll find crescent. So we've likely distanced out here between the front and back leg with that spin. Slide the hands down to the mat. And we're going to press back into that right hamstring. So looking to express the hamstring. And then once you get the hamstring expressed to your liking, let's see if we can lift those toe mounds or the toe mound on the right foot. Really just looking to bring a little more activation to that posterior chain. And then ground your right foot. Sweep yourself up into this very wide version of crescent. We also have some fatigue on the right hamstring, so just make sure you're using your core to stabilize and stay vertical. Let the hands down on the mat, and we'll step forward and into fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Roll yourself up vertebrae by vertebrae. Rebalancing here. Bring your hands together at heart center. Think about the weight distribution. Once you feel like you've found that equilibrium of stability, let's slide our right foot straight back. Create that alignment first, then fully express the shape. When it feels appropriate for you, right heel ground. We roll to two. Stay with the awareness, that lateral edge of the front leg. Spin back into crescent. Note that we've likely increased the distance here. Put the hands down on the mat. Slide back into that left hamstring. Think about how you can just activate the hamstring tissue. And then we'll see if it's accessible to pull that toe mound up. Looking to just bring a little more awareness into the posterior chain. When it feels appropriate, left toe mounds come back down. Sweep yourself into this wide version of crescent. Fatigue, use the core, stay engaged and stay vertical. Put the hands down on the mat and we'll step forward into fold. Inhale into half lift. Exhale back into fold. Settle all the way into your fold. And once you're completely in that fold, lift the heels, come back into the toe mound balance. And then we're going to roll ourselves up vertebrae by vertebrae. Coming into mountain and then releasing the heels down to the mat. Letting the weight settle across the toe mound heel distribution and across the medial lateral edge. Interlace the fingers. Sink the seat back into chair. And then extend the arms. As the arms extend that counterweight, think about hips driving back. And then release the hands down to the mat. And let's walk our way back into down dog. Push all the way back into the heels. Think about getting the hamstrings to express themselves here. And then let's come down to hands and knees tabletop. We'll flip the tops of the feet and sink our way back into child's pose. After a significant amount of grilling, this old woman says, okay, well, I think it's time I should tell you I don't have a lot of time left on this planet. And I need someone to do an incredibly important task for me. A task that I do not have the energy or the time for. And she pulls out this little metal box. She sets it on the table. She says, I need this box delivered to the village beyond the mountains. And the young man starts to reach out for the box, and she brushes him away and says, it is vitally important that the contents inside this box are not disturbed. You should never open this box. And the young man's eyes get wide, and he asks the obvious question, what's inside? When it feels appropriate, let's pull ourselves forward to hands and knees tabletop. Drop the belly here. And as the belly drops, think about spreading the hands out, spreading the fingers out, the same way we did with the feet, and trying to use the space in your hands to allow for this anterior abdominal expansion. Almost like this upper abdominal band is able to just peel open towards the lateral edge. And really think about how the hands are helping you create that space. And then draw back to neutral with the spine. Curl your toes, lift your seat, and find down dog. Now, as you get back into down dog, first set the feet. Drive the weight into the heels. Remember that if you're not feeling that weight shift, bend the knees until you are. So if the hips just aren't getting back far enough, just keep bending the knees until they can. And then think about what you can do from your hands up into your shoulders so that we can soften that musculature and allow for more and more depth. And then let's walk our way forward into fold. And we'll inhale into half lift. And exhale back into fold. Roll or sweep to mountain. and settle into that mountain. See if it's accessible for you to just close the eyes here. Feel the feet and the space that you granted them supporting you. Think about softening into the shoulders, the neck, the breath. And then when you're ready, we'll softly open the eyes if they are closed. Think about the softness that you have in your body. We have the structure of mountain, but softness here. And slide your left foot back into that soft space. Ground your left heel. Blossom out into warrior two. Stay with that softness. So it's easy for the quad on the front side to really fire up, but try to just be soft, like the feet are cushioning you here. And then with that cushion, just slide back into the right hamstring. Right away, it's easy for now that hamstring to want to fight. Think about it being soft. Think about the feet being cushions and just start to tilt yourself forward to triangle. Again, the hamstring wants to fight. Instead of forcing your way towards something, just think about softly finding your way into something. Whatever that shape looks like, it's soft. From the bottom of the feet, it's soft up into the foundation of the shape or beyond the foundation of the shape. And then let's tilt our way back up and refine warrior two. Again, as you smooth out into that front quad, it wants to take over and it wants to become this big solid block here. Think about it being soft. You have to be soft in the feet for that to be possible. So soften your way into the feet. And then let's spin that left heel up and we'll find crescent. Again, those big leg musculatures can want to take over. Soft into the feet. And then we'll drop the hands and step to mountain. Now we likely have some asymmetry. We worked one side of the body a completely different way than the other. It's likely harder to find softness here because of the asymmetry. So your body wants to fight its way back into a symmetrical balance. Try to relax your way back into the symmetrical balance. So hands come together at heart center. Maybe you let the eyes close. Let the shoulders soften. Let the bottom of the feet soften. Let the breath soften. Once you feel like you have that softness, we'll let the eyes open if they are closed. We'll slide the right foot back into lunge, landing with that softness. Ground your right heel and just blossom open into a very soft version of warrior two. Think about how this quad wants to overpower the shape, and instead just find your way back into the delicateness of the feet, the space of the feet, the cushion of the feet, and then glide back into the hamstring. That hamstring wants to take over, but think about being soft in the musculature. Eventually, we'll just tilt our way forward, finding softness. Really delicate softness here. Easy shape to fight against. So if you start to fight, slow down the breath. Think about how the feet are providing the cushion. And then when you're ready, we'll draw ourselves back up. Rebend the front knee. Remember, the quad's going to want to take over. We're just going into that soft, easy state here. And then the right heel's going to spin up. Soft, even as all the musculature wants to reactivate to create stability. Drop the hands and we'll step to the front of the mat. And just try to appreciate the space kind of around the hip girdle. How, as you just relax back into this new version of mountain, everything can be as soft and at ease as possible. And then another shape that we can tend to fight into, we're going to drop to Malasana. Shape we haven't been doing a lot of, but tailbone straight down. Different sets of musculature often want to fight here, right? So lumbar sacrum, the tibialis tends to want to fight here. Just give yourself the opportunity for one soft breath, and then let's work ourselves back into staff. And from staff, just exhale our way forward into a soft, seated fold. We'll give ourselves about 60 seconds here. And so after some time, this young man and this older woman come to an agreement. He will take this box from the tavern over the mountains and to the village on the other side. He gives his assurances over and over and over again that he will not open the box. And the two, having come to this agreement, part ways. Early the next morning, this young man takes off towards, in the direction of, the mountains and the village beyond. And he tucks this box into the inner pocket of his jacket. When it feels appropriate, let's bring ourselves back up towards staff, and then we'll just lower ourselves straight onto our backs. And so we re-meet neutrality. Let your body just appreciate the state that it's in now, this new state that you've created for it since the beginning of practice. Find ease within the breath. And find ease within the physicality of the body and the support beneath it. And then when it feels appropriate, let's let the bottoms of the feet come together and the knees fall out wide. So there are a few things that are immediately apparent to this young man as he tucks this metal box into his inner jacket pocket. Number one, the weight of the box is shocking. It's heavy. And so it's constantly pulling his jacket down over the top of his shoulders and off to the side. It's also constantly pressing against his ribcage. But he knows that the road here is full of thieves. And if he wants to deliver this promise that he's made, he's going to need to keep this item hidden. Give ourselves about 60 more seconds here. Let your breath just be as easy and as fluid as possible here. Think about how you can find your way back to that softness. Last 10 seconds. When it feels appropriate, we'll bring our knees back together and let them squeeze into one another. Feel the thighs squeeze into one another. And then relax. And let your knees fall to the left into a little static twist. Softening into this twist. So as the road that this young man starts to get more and more rough, the weight of the box starts to feel more and more impactful on each step. And the pressure of the box and the bouncing of the box in that inner jacket pocket against the rib starts to be more and more painful. The young man starts to think less and less about the road or the quest or the promises that he's made. And more about the box, the discomfort it causes, and even starts to wonder what's inside. Bring our knees back to neutral. And then let them fall over to the second side, the right side. He starts to think maybe worry or doubt if whatever it is inside could be worth the suffering he's going through, the pain the box is causing him. Starts to wonder if maybe what's inside is dangerous or valuable. When it feels appropriate, let's bring our knees back to neutral. And as you find your way back to neutral here, ask yourself if there's anything that you might want, might need, might benefit from prior to Shavasana. And if there is, let's offer that to ourselves now, before we find our way into some stillness. And when you're ready, when it's right, find your way into your version of Shavasana this evening.
As the young man traveled, the days started to pass much more slowly. His mind was constantly filled with questions about the box. And while the weight of the box certainly hadn't changed, it felt heavier and heavier with each passing day. One night, as he sat in his tent, listened to the rain drumming against the canvas, the temptation overcame him. And with trembling hands, he pried the box open to reveal what was inside. Nothing. The box was completely empty. And as his breath caught in his throat, and the reality of what he had just done settled into his chest, he realized the weight he had been carrying. Start to bring some movement to our fingers and toes. The weight of the promises he had made and the promise he had broken. Movement into your wrists and your ankles. Promises broken not for wealth, not for gold, not for strength, not for power. Movement into your elbows and your knees. Promise broken for nothing. Movement into your shoulders and your hips. And he realized that it changed him. Movement to your neck and your head, jaw, eyes, tongue. Eventually, the entirety of the body moves, and we'll utilize that movement to transition from the shapes we are in back into a seat. In the seated space, spine gets tall, breath gets fluid, eyes closed. And so he continued on his journey to deliver the box, knowing very well that the delivery he would make would mean nothing. Your next inhale, we'll bring our hands together, heart center. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you remind yourself it is very infrequent that our integrity is tested with giant obstacles, but very likely it's tested with tiny, insignificant details, and see how that impacts your experience. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening's practice and for being you. Namaste. Happy Monday, guys. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for taking care of yourself. By next Sunday, my brain should be working again. I'm excited about that. I love the heck out of you. Have a beautiful week. I'll be back on Sunday to recharge. Mwah.